Hey everyone, and welcome to the New Era podcast. Now in today's episode, I'll be speaking with Connor Williams, founder of Close Pro and also a sales trainer. Now in today's episode, we'll be covering all things sales and covering our journeys as well. So everything that we've been through within our journeys of our sales academies, our agencies, and also through coaching as well. So make sure to like and subscribe and to follow my channel to stay up to date with all of our latest episodes. Okay, Connor, welcome. How are you?
Welcome.
Why did you say it like that?
Because you said it like
Welcome. Okay, Connor.
Good morning.
It's afternoon.
No, it's not.
No, I'm joking. Okay. Welcome.
I don't like the welcome.
Say hi.
Just jump in.
Okay.
Hi.
Connor, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm all the better for seeing you.
Are you ready to do this?
I'm ready. Okay.
Ready.
Okay. So let's get straight into it.
Yeah, let's just go.
So how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. How was your morning being in Liverpool?
Productive.
What have you been up to?
Productive. You know, it's nice when you are at a hotel. You got to feel the need to get up, get about, get and do stuff.
It's a change of scenery.
It is.
It is a change of scenery.
It's hard when you work at home.
Yeah.
Like if you're an entrepreneur that kind of runs a business by yourself at home all day, every day, it's nice to get out of the house.
To get out of the house.
Yeah.
Okay, so firstly, before we get into it, I'm going to shoot you with some short fire questions.
Okay, let's do this.
Okay. Scripting or winging it?
Middle of both.
No, you've got to choose one.
Oh, winging it.
Okay. Selling to people or people buying into you?
People buying into you.
Cold calling or social media outreach?
Cold calling.
Virtual meetings or in person?
In person, always.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs. Obviously.
Questionable. However, okie dokie. So to start off today, I want you to tell the audience a little bit more about you and what you do.
God, in a nutshell, I guess. So yeah, I'm a sales trainer and sales professional. I think that sums it up nicely.
Yeah.
So my career has always been sales, and I've always thought of myself as a salesperson. But you know, I've done a lot of different things, like had e-commerce business, had a marketing agency, but everything I was doing is always around sales. You know, my entire business was always around the sales systems. And it's funny because when we were talking last night, you're the opposite of that. You know, you've done similar things to me, but you were always, I don't know, what would you label yourself as?
As in, how have I got, or like what do I do?
Yeah, well, when we kind of said about it, like you've never thought of yourself as a salesperson, but we've both done similar things, and I've always thought of myself as a salesperson.
Yeah,
so what would you define yourself as?
You see yourself as a salesperson, whereas I've always said, okay, I'm an entrepreneur. Never necessarily seen myself as a marketer or a salesperson, when in reality, I'm an entrepreneur, a marketer, a salesperson, and every entrepreneur is every single role, whether they like it or not. They can delegate as many different things to people, but they're always them three roles. Yeah,
you always have to kind of have all of them hats. But I think that's why a lot of people fail, is because they try and shortcut everything. Like when I get on, because like what I close for is programs that helps entrepreneurs to launch like marketing agencies, and a lot of them just come in and want to shortcut everything. It's like, well, I'll outsource that. And I always ask them, well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I'll just oversee the business. What does that even mean?
Yeah, I think people delegate too soon, so that when it comes to outsourcing things, they don't actually know if the job's actually getting done to a good standard.
Yeah.
So I think in the beginning, you should always figure out what performs. Yeah. So at least then you can see, let's be honest, people bullshit you. People bullshit 100%. You into anything. So you don't know if something's performing or not. You can't track it. And then if it isn't performing, you can't exactly come in and oversee something that you don't know how it works.
Because it always goes wrong. You outsource to someone, like look at the nature of that relationship. You expect to pay someone a minimal amount to do something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And you expect them to do a great job at it. And as soon as they don't, you then complain. It's like, well, what do you expect? If you're going to pay someone a couple $100 a month to run your ads for you, and then they don't do a great job, they don't sit on it for 8 hours a day, you're like, oh my God. It's like, what do you expect? If you're not willing to do it yourself, then...
Yeah, if you're not willing to learn how the processes and the systems. Do you know, I listened to a podcast about this the other day. It was actually with, I'm about to name drop, Manier de Bois, but I think it was recent, he said that you need to understand the aspects of the business so you can see where it goes wrong. Yeah. And he also said about holding yourself accountable. It was like he holds himself too accountable so that when he pays people in the business and things go wrong, he still held himself accountable for that going wrong.
Yeah.
So I think there's that aspect of it as well.
And it's like what we said like last night, like a big thing for me is always like extreme ownership.
Yeah.
So you've got to take responsibility for that.
Definitely.
And then how I even like sell it as such to people who are like interested in these programs. And I say, look, we teach you to run everything yourself for a very good reason. And I say, think about highly successful CEOs. The reason that they're successful is because if you track their career, they're people that have been in all departments. They like started in sales, then they moved to marketing, then they were kind of like in operations, then they went into accounting. And, they get an insight into all the systems that actually run a business.
Yeah.
So then when they're at the top, they know how it all works.
Yeah.
And they're not like really objective to whatever they've been brought up in.
Okay, so how do you go about then? Because this is another thing that most business owners suffocate. They don't suffocate, they do. No, they suffer with is delegating initially. So you wear all the hats, you specialize in everything. And then when it comes to delegating that work, actually being able to do it and saying, right, okay, you're the expert in it, roll with it. Like so many people struggle with actually saying, right, okay, you roll with it. Even though you're better than it than I am, you feel as though letting go of your baby is like...
Oh, yeah, big time. So you always caught between that like dichotomy of controlling entrepreneur who wants to control everything and never lets anything go and fails there, or the, like we spoke about earlier, the shortcutters who ideally are just lazy and want the most without doing like anything at all. So, like I said, my big thing is always finding balance in like the big contradictions. Like that's where success lies. So you have to find that balance between knowing when to outsource, to let go of that control, but also taking ownership. So I think it's just self-analysis, right? What am I good at in my business? What actually pushes the needle forward? Because I've got a friend who runs a protein company. And he's definitely more on the controlling side. Like he'd fully agree with me. We had a conversation the other day about he has this like business partner who's multimillionaire, had like loads of businesses, failed, succeeded, like great person to learn from. And he tells him this all the time. It's like, mate, you're doing your own packing. Like, and things like that. It's like, yeah, but I can do it. Why would I pay someone £15 an hour? I was like, but it's not about that. It's about you saving. For the end of, like, you're going to do an activity you could pay someone £15 an hour for.
Do you know what? I think it's valuing your time as well. So you can sit, it's like me with gym law. If I sit and package gym law, okay, I could pay someone to package gym law and then invest my time into where I'm actually good.
Yeah. And
so you're wasting your time. Yeah, you're wasting your time doing the little things that you're never going to grow your business by focusing on the smaller things. Yeah. So actually, now we could go off on a tangent. So let's get back into it because this is why I've got a list because we do just talk.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to sales, now I wanted to go over sales because so many people have asked me about sales. They always say, like, I've got business owners that will approach me and say, how did you find clients? How did you figure out you were good at sales? When in reality, I've always sat here and said I'm not a salesperson, but I am a salesperson. Yeah. So every business owner is a salesperson. So I really want to teach people how to believe in themselves and how to have the right mindset and mentality. But how do you feel sales has evolved over time? So in the new era, how do you think? Yeah. How do you think sales has evolved?
Yeah, when I teach sales, the first thing I go over is new age sales. You call it new era, like same thing. Yeah. And it's understanding that there's a big stigma around sales, which is why a lot of sales roles aren't called sales roles. It's like business. I was always a business development manager. I'd never be called a salesperson. Yeah. Or consultancy or things like that. But it's all the same thing. You're trying to get money out of someone. Yeah. But because of the stigma, like the Wolf of Wall Street movies, like everyone has that picture of them boilerplate sales roles where you're stuck in this little basement making $1,000 a day, saying absolutely anything to anyone to sell something.
To get them in.
But that was my first sales role, standing on a street corner, shopping centres, Tesco, things like that, pulling people off the street and selling them charity or broadband or stuff like that.
Yeah.
In a role where you're speaking to 500 people a day, it's commission only as well, and you get between 10 and 30 pound a sale, and most people don't get more than 3 sales a day. I was definitely that salesperson, definitely saying like I would be interested or kind of like an elite hobbyist into anything I do. Like, golf, I was playing a round of golf with my mates the other day. I've never played golf in my life. Like I was one of those people.
So you just completely winged it from the get-go.
And it is more about this kind of 80-20 split between, right, as a salesperson, I've got to take control of this conversation. I've got to speak 80% of the time. I've got to have that power. But
this was old school sales.
This
is definitely old school sales.
But there's still an 80-20 split, but it's the other way around. So
what year was this?
This was 2015.
Okay, so we're talking
This,
about 8
yeah,
years ago.
this really was the kind of the shutdown of that type of sales.
Yeah.
It's definitely took a steep decline since then.
Yeah.
And it's more 80-20 the other way now, where you have to listen 80% of the time
Yeah.
and speak 20% of the time. You've really got to understand that prospect, understand that person, what their goals are, what their needs are. And the biggest mindset shift I've had, and I've taught other people to have when it comes to new age sales, is you need to stop selling a service. You need to stop selling a product. You need to start solving someone's problem.
Yeah, 100%, because people buy into people.
Yeah.
I think you've got to sell yourself to someone before you're going to sell your product or your service.
Yeah.
Because selling, and there's so many business people, there's so many business owners, there's so many salespeople, there's just so many everything of every single job, but there's only one you. So when you're trying to sell yourself to someone, they're going to buy into you before they buy into any product or service. Because if you think about me as an agency owner, how many agency owners are there? How many agency owners are going to be in the DMs of my potential clients? Like, unless you're going to prove who you are and show yourself in an authentic way.
So true.
People aren't going to buy into you.
So true. It's like I say to people who kind of on the marketing side, oh, like I can't book any meetings. So it's like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I've sent like 100 emails today. It's like, all right, well, let's break this down and look at it from their perspective. So they receive between 5 and 10 emails like this a day minimum.
Yeah.
Why does yours stand out? What do you mean, right? Why are they going to look at yours above the other 10 and go, oh my God, this person's amazing? Well, they're not. So how can you expect? Yeah, but like, I've sent so many. It's all right, well, how many emails do you get a day? Oh, no, about 20. Like, how many do you pay attention to? Well, none. Well, there's your answer.
I see it from both aspects, because I've got obviously the agency, which we obviously do outreach from.
Yeah.
And then I've got Gym Law, where I'm getting agencies approaching me every single day. So I see how they will approach me as an agency perspective. And I'm like, shut up, go away.
It's so annoying. So, yeah.
I'm like, you are winding me up.
When I've like managed the socials for a client with my marketing agency, like, yeah, I've had full control of their DMs and their emails, and it's so irritating. It's so irritating. And that's what I say to people with outreach. Like, the reason that you have to adopt like a multi-platform strategy, like you have to DM, you have to email, you have to call, you have to approach them in more than one way, is because everyone is different.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I think people only test one platform and then they give up. They'll send 100 emails and then go, well, I've got no responses, so I've given up.
Yeah. And
what?
And I say contradictory. You don't call to get someone to answer you on the phone. You don't email to get an email response. You don't DM to get a DM response. You do all three to get some form of response.
Yeah.
Because I get, through like businesses or just, I get cold called a lot. I get emailed a lot. I get DM'd a lot. And I don't respond to anything.
Yeah.
But if someone, like the rare person who ever gets a response from me, if they are calling me, emailing me and DMing me, I pay a lot more attention. And then what I do is I email them back.
It's the consistency of it.
But my preferred platform is email. So I'll never call that person back. I'll never DM them back. I will email them back. But I will never email someone who just emails me. They'll have to do all three to just get that email back.
Yeah, see, I think with what we do, so I don't just message anyone. I will only work with people that we genuinely want to work with. But when it comes to trying to get the attention of that person, I think I tried email I was that person that emailed, say, 100 people, and I was like, no one's responded, I give up. But it's because it just didn't interest me at the same time. And I don't know if that plays a significant role in outreach, but DMing people and actually being able to start a conversation, that worked better for me. So rather than me sending out salesy messages of saying, do you know what, I can help you achieve X in this amount of time, it was just like, hey, how are you? Love your business. What are you up to? What are your plans for the year?
And that's the thing. You approach those conversations like an actual conversation on a platform that's appropriate. So you have that kind of informal conversation on social media, because that's where people go to have informal conversations.
Yeah.
And it's like the reason that people adopt this email heavy outreach strategy when they do businesses like that is plain and simple because they're lazy. That's literally all it is, because they think that they can just buy leads, put them into a system like Lemlist, handles all your emails for you, sit back and then just wait until the money rolls in.
Wait for the responses to come through.
But it doesn't work because it's a lazy approach, and you always get out what you put in.
I think that's why we've seen such a big success in the beginning, because before I met you, I had no framework at all. And I'm still going to say I probably don't have a framework, and I have wung it the entire way. But I was completely winging it from being myself from the get-go of speaking to people. So people would naturally buy into me anyway, because I wasn't trying to sell them anything. I was just winging it and getting to know them and having a conversation. So how do you think over time, obviously sales has evolved from being really pushy. But how do you think that's evolved in that sense of things as well?
Well, I mean, what I always see, I mean, I've probably coached one-on-one like over 500 people. So I've seen this time and time again. And I'd like to think I've got a good idea of what actually makes these systems work, what actually makes a successful person. And what I find really funny is that when you look at that approach, you know, I've just kind of winged it. I haven't built this system, but you still get on somewhere. And then everyone else is like, oh yeah, well, I'm trying to adopt this perfect system that everyone that says it works and it's not working. The reason is you just need to look at it as what actually moves the needle forward. And people always take this reverse approach where they'll go onto YouTube, watch all these successful people with 100K a month agencies and try and implement things in agencies where we make 1% change. It makes a big difference because we're at 100,000. But when we do it in an agency that has nothing, when we're constantly looking at all these minute changes, like, oh, I'm going to use this system instead of this because I'll get a 3% increase in open rate. You know, we're making all these small changes, analyzing, stuck in that analysis paralysis. And we're moving the needle forward like 1, 2, 3%. And what actually moves the needle forward is just making calls, sending emails,
but you can't
outreach, like numbers, actual work, which is what you've always done.
Yeah, because you don't know what works if you're constantly changing your systems. And especially when you're new, if you haven't tested anything, then you don't know what's going to perform. Yeah. Like we've got scripts now, we've got a framework that we follow now, but I'd still say that you don't necessarily follow it. But you said something really interesting yesterday. And I was saying about a framework, I said that we've always won it. We've got scripts. And you made it clear about having that framework so you can ask the right questions. Yeah. So making sure certain questions were answered. Whereas back in the day when I started the agency, I'd get the client, we'd have a great relationship, and then there's so much that I didn't have the answers to at the time because we just bought into each other from that bond. Whereas it would have been good to have certain knowledge to then set them expectations as well. So I think that was a really good point that you'd made yesterday. Yeah, well,
and it's, people get caught up on the scripted side so much that they sound really robotic and they can't genuinely connect with people, so they don't get like honest answers and they don't dig deep. Because they're so caught up in, fuck, what do I say? Like, how do I say this word to word? Like, and they're 90% in their own head trying to think of that script. And they're not present in the conversation. Yeah. And then you get the wingers, naturally me, definitely naturally you, who are so engaged in that conversation that you pick up on more, you build more of a genuine relationship, but you forget key things.
Yeah, because I think you genuinely want to help people. I think the people that follow a certain script and they don't trust their own instincts, they're not there for the right reasons until they start to actually, I don't think you deserve a client unless you genuinely understand them and you genuinely want to deliver them results.
Trying to solve one of their problems as opposed to I need to sell my service.
I need to sell my service and I need to get money in the bank, and then it's shit, how do I figure it out from here? Like you genuinely need to solve a problem. Like I was speaking to someone the other day and it was a business owner who said she hated sales. And I said, that's fine because people don't want to be sold to anyway. Like in the new era, people don't want to be sold to. They want to buy into you. They don't want to be sold a product or service. They want to buy into you. And then your product and service, which is just a benefit at the same time. I think when you hire someone, you hire them off a CV. You don't genuinely know what they're going to bring in. But with an agency, you instantly expect results if you're going to sell them a product or service first. You want them to kind of buy into you in the same way they buy into a CV. Yeah. Then the product or service kind of then follows, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it was like you were saying, the importance of kind of putting more attention into your social media, your presence. And, you know, we try and do
personal branding. We'll get onto that,
Jesus
guys.
Christ. Like, you know, like that thing is like I've been fearful of for so long, but I just see how important it is. So you do have to kind of bite the bullet, but there's a way that you can do it and still kind of stay true to your brand. Like I don't even like using the word brand. I always think when people use the word brand to portray themselves, like it's not them. You know, it's that mask. It's like, this is my brand. And everything is manipulated around trying to keep this perfect image where that doesn't necessarily have to be the case all the time. Like your brand can be that transparency. It can be that raw, authentic you. And I think that's now what people are starting to see.
Yeah, I think that's interesting you saying that because your personal, I like calling it a personal brand because so many people say, I don't have a brand, I've not got a personal brand. Every single person has a personal brand, but no one wants to admit it at the same time. They don't want to say, oh, you've got to then believe in yourself. Yeah. And it's like, we spoke about courses, releasing a course. So you're in the process of releasing your course. Yeah. I've just released the Blue
program, not course.
Program, not course. I've just released the New Era Blueprint.
Yeah.
And I think the moment you can believe in yourself that what you know will actually benefit people and bring people in and make people money, that is when you believe in your personal brand. So you saying that you don't have a personal brand, you do, because you're also then going to release a program and people are going to buy into it because they're buying into you and your brand.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm seeing the importance of.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said before, it's like I'd post maybe on social media once a year. Like, that was it.
Yeah.
Like, and even then I didn't like doing it.
I think this is a good topic. Yeah. So people hate sales, especially some business owners hate sales. They say they're not salespeople, they're not used to it. Now, you're a good salesperson. You're very confident on calls. You're very confident at speaking to anyone. Why is it when it comes to your personal brand and speaking on social media, that triggers you over, oh my gosh, I don't want to put myself out there?
I've always felt like it's not due to a lack of confidence. Like, you know me in person.
Yeah.
Like, I do stupid things. I do it all the time. And I don't ever care about it. All the time. Like, I am who I am. Like, I'm always me. So I don't really care about putting it out there. But I think when you peek behind the veil of this industry, when, like, as a kind of sales professional working with programs, you know, working with other coaches, other agency owners, other, like, course creators, things like that, when you peek behind the veil and you kind of see the amount of bullshit that is out there, you just get a distaste for it. Yeah. Like, you just, like, and it's funny because you know these people and then you see them on social media and ads and things like that, and you're just like, oh yeah, whatever, mate. Yeah, whatever. So
it's the fear of other people judging.
Yeah, I guess so. It's just maybe more like I just don't want to be like that. And at the moment, I've got so many things on that require my attention that I'd prefer to put my attention into, that I don't need to do this. But then when you kind of reach this next level and you're like, okay, like, you see the power of it, it's like, all right, you need to buy the bullet and you need to do it.
Yeah, I think because when we say that we don't need to, last year I said, oh, I don't need to. Like, I was getting organic leads, I was doing outreach, was performing well. But since I've actually started posting on social media, this year, we're in March, we've had more organic leads come in from me posting. We've closed 2 of our biggest clients ever, all because they've looked at my social media and gone, she knows what she's talking about. 100%. So we say we don't need it, but it's actually made life easier, growing that personal brand and showing off your knowledge. And I regret sleeping on it last year, big time.
100%. Maybe that is, like, taking an honest look. That's just me making excuses because there's something I didn't want to do.
I did it.
Yeah, 100%.
Last year, I said to the team, I'm going to start YouTube. Yeah, okay. Yeah. It was like when you're on a sales call and you're trying to get someone to buy into you and they're like, yeah, I'll think about it. And you think, do you know what? You either want to stay in the same position you are now or be in a complete different position you are next year. I was that person last year. The needle was moving, but the needle could have moved so much further if I'd have just done this. Yeah.
But it's lessons learned. And I think the thing that I'm starting to understand is that, you know, I'm going to make a commitment to do it. Yeah. But the difference is this time with everything that I've done is I'm going to have a honest look at the trajectory and, right, this is going to take a long time. Yeah. Like, it's not like, you know, people use that phrase, quick money. It's like, oh, it's quick cash. I've never understood that. Because it's like, well, if you can do something that earns you a lot of money, then why isn't that just earning a lot of money? So then what I started to understand this as is that a role like high ticket closing, quick cash. Yeah. Because you can earn good money quickly, but it's always something you've got to be working in. It's kind of like the time for money equation. Yeah. And it's always like high value, but you always have to keep kind of putting that into it. Whereas, you know, when people talk about more of the long-term stuff, the opposite to that, it's building an actual long-term business. Yeah. So quick cash is the activities that you're earning a really good amount. But I think that's why when you're in that mindset of employee, it's just, you can't understand it. Because all you know is that. And it's like, well, if you do something that earns you good money, that's just a high-paying job. No. Quick cash is an activity like high-ticket closing where, you get really good money, you get it quickly, you get it relatively easily. Yeah. But you've always got to be doing like 6 to 8 calls a day, every single day, like to do it.
Every single day. So you can hit a 10K month, but then the next month you can go, oh my God, that was amazing. And you go,
you can't take a month off and then earn.
I've got to do this all over again.
You've got to then do it again. And if it's something you enjoy, then you can do it for a few years. But then the opposite to that is then building a long-term business and you don't earn as much money. You put more work in, you get less. But it's understanding that for the long term, that's where you actually build a sustainable business.
Yeah, definitely. I think that when I set up the agency, that was my worry in the initial stages was we're getting all these clients in, but I was working round the clock. And I was like, but I didn't feel like I was actually, I don't know. I wanted to do more. I wanted to work with less clients and be able to provide them with something.
It's like we'd do Zoom calls at like 10:30 at night.
Literally.
Like, I just need you to do that.
Yeah. It's like any client asked for anything. It was like, yeah, I'm there. What do you mean you're there? You should be asleep. Like, why are you there? But then it's only last year that I turned around and said, I want to focus on growing a business. And my dad said, what you're doing right now is not sustainable. Yeah, okay, I was 23. And he said, so right now you don't really need to worry about it because you're not having kids and things like that. But he said, but the moment you decide to have kids and decide to settle down, this model is not sustainable. And that's when I was like, yeah, being a cat mum's all right because they feed themselves. But like, that's so true.
Yeah, so I think that's when I finally understood what quick cash means.
Yeah.
And that gave me a lot of perspective. And I've always said that wise people, like smart people, learn from their mistakes. Wise people learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
So when I started like looking at these people who built it, like Alex Hormozy, like one of the people that everyone looks at, Gary Vee, like all these people. But
Alex's wife, Layla.
But you look at the story and like they're always like, yeah, but I did this understanding that like he paid someone to like help grow his YouTube channel. Yeah. And like the guy who helped him said he was one of the most realistic people ever. He was like, yeah, but I've got this for a 5 to 10 year plan. I'll do this for 5 to 10 years before I expect to see 100,000 followers. And he was like, oh my God, like I wish everyone was like you.
Yeah, because you get some clients that are like, it's been 3 hours.
And it's like Gary Vee did a wine YouTube channel for 2 years, like a couple of years after YouTube came out with like nothing. But you know, it's really easy to see successful people at their peak and think, oh yeah, it's like easy, I can do that. And
it just doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't. I think it's, you see people that work so hard day in, day out, and it doesn't happen, and then just instantly it happens and you're like, what the hell? But then they're always the people that get instant success.
Because they're lucky, right?
They're lucky.
Yeah,
because they're lucky. Like,
but it's really funny when you work hard, like your luck increases. Weird that.
Harder you work, the luckier you get. So here we are, completely off topic. No, we're not. Okay, so our experiences, I'm going to say our experiences in sales are completely different. Do you agree?
Yes and no.
You're going to say yes when I ring you and go, Connor, do you know what's happened today? And you go, why do you get this?
Yeah, I feel it is. Like, I think clients, like when we dealt with agencies, my clients were really nice and your clients were not so nice.
It depends. I'd say now.
Yeah.
Now, yes. But this could also link in with the right client as well. So I now cover, obviously, working with your ideal client.
Yeah.
In the beginning stage of the agency, I set the agency up from gym law stock being stuck in customs and going, oh my God, what the hell comes next? So it was a case of working with anyone to make the business exist so that you could grow the business. Whereas now it's working with your ideal client. Yeah. But then also,
you've always had a lot more clients than me as well. So I can sit here and say I've had great clients, you've had really bad ones. But like, the thing that I want to make clear is that you've always had a lot more clients. Your agency has always done a lot better than mine ever did.
Yeah.
Because, I was picky, but I was still doing closing. I was still doing sales coaching. I was doing other things that I really enjoyed. I got more benefit from.
Your focus split across different things.
So my focus was always split. So I could be a little bit more picky, but there's a reason that I don't have a very successful marketing agency. It's because I did.
You weren't coached by me.
Who coached you? So I like my clients I was a bit more picky at. And, I took that approach, but I kind of could because I had other things going on that I was more focused on.
Yeah.
But you've had to go through that to understand what you're good at, what services you're good at, what type of clients like you want, what work you can do for them that actually works.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think you also established that not every client within your niche is going to be your ideal client. So even when you then niche down, it was, okay, we'll take on anyone that's within that niche.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh my God, this is not my ideal situation at all. But then when you finally find your ideal client, you go, well, this makes sense. What a waste of 2 years that I've just done. But it's not a waste because it's a constant learning phase. Yeah. And you just grow from it, don't you?
Yeah, but I think you've got to take that. I mean, I definitely did that at the start. I was doing anything I could. Like I had a client that I sold like a £1,500 video package for. And then with that money, I had to go out and buy a video camera and then learn how to do video and did it and never, ever was going to do video again because I hated it.
Oh, see, we've never, I think in the initial stages, like content creation was one of our best packages because I worked with Jordan.
Yeah.
And it was like any client that came through, no matter what, I knew that Jordan would smash it. Now I've got Phoebe. Content comes through, I know that Phoebe will smash it. So it's like, I've never risked it in terms of selling a service that we've not had the backup for it. If that makes sense.
I think that's where the kind of sales element comes in, and that confidence.
The wearing many hats as well.
Yeah. But I don't mind, like I can sell any service, even though I don't know how to do it. But the confidence I have to do that is because in the back of my mind, I know for a fact that I will sit there on 1 hour sleep a night until I provide what I've sold. Like that's the big difference. It's like I know I've got the confidence that I can sell this because I know I'll figure it out. Like the video stuff I hated, but I still done it. I delivered on what I actually sold. But because of the nightmare that created is the reason I won't sell that again. So then I wouldn't have the confidence again to sell it again because I don't have the confidence that I want to do it.
Would you recommend that?
What part?
That experience.
Yeah, because that's a period of growth. Like,
okay, so would you say someone is setting up an agency or setting up something new and they are selling a service? Say they've not got the experience in it, because this fits in with people starting an agency.
Yeah.
They've got experience in social media because everyone's got experience in social media. They're then selling a service, but they're not necessarily confident because they feel like they've got zero credibility because they've not worked on someone else's account.
So you've got two options.
But they actually use social media every single day.
Yeah.
So in a sense, what you've just said, that you've sold a service of selling a video service to someone with no experience and had to go out and buy a camera, that might come across in a way of going, oh my gosh, that's so like risky. But in reality, as a social media agency, you might not have ever run a client's account before. And that is selling a service that you've never done before.
Yeah.
And you need to start somewhere to.
And that's what I mean. You've got kind of two options. You can have that confidence. You can then provide that service, figure it out. And a lot of the times, people have joined programs to do this. So, if they're going to join your program, they're still going to have that nervousness, even if they've gone through the training.
Yeah.
So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place anyway.
Yeah.
So if you're going to sell it, you can have the confidence that you're going to figure it out and actually deliver on that. Or you take the other route, which is you realize the position you're in, the unconfidence you have, and the only way to solve it is by offering the service for free.
Yeah.
Getting clients on board, having them say, look, and being open and honest. And I think this really helps with people a bit nervous on the sales side, a little bit lacking on that power of persuasion. You can be open and honest about your situation and you can build a solid narrative around it. You can say, hey, look, I've just started an agency, but I've joined this massive network of other agency owners. I've been through this really high-tech course on how to do this. And now I'm just looking for live experience. I'm looking at experience. I've chosen to work with your industry because I see loads of people getting results for it. And I know I can get that for you too. But because I'm new to this, I'm willing to do this completely free for you. And that's such a powerful thing that you can use. And at the end of the day, you've got to look at this on a long-term basis. If you're trying to build a business that gives you 5-6 figures revenue per month, and you're quibbling over, but I want to get paid £500 for my service, that you don't know how to do it. It's unethical to do.
You can't value your time higher until you've actually learned how to do it.
If you're not confident about doing something, then how are you going to sell it? At the end of the day, I've sold things that I haven't known how to do, but I've had confidence that I'd figure it out, and I always have. And that isn't me just doing this for a first time. That's me doing this for a very long time, doing similar things, and then knowing that I can kind of connect dots on my own experience. I can go through courses or buy things, and I can get this done.
Yeah. Do you know what? I can agree with it because the first package we ever sold at the agency, I've still got that client today.
Yeah.
And it's also my biggest package. So I sold a big package initially thinking, oh my God, but I charged it based on my worth of how I'd built Gym Law and the other brands in the past. So whilst I had zero credibility of running anything for anyone else, I charged based on how I valued what I'd built.
Yeah.
And I think it comes with when the amount of people I've spoken to the past week about the course and trying to speak to people about saying, well, if you're investing £1,000 into the course, you need one client to break even. And if you can value your time and actually believe that you're going to bring in them results, then you can do that. You can bring in one client easily. Yeah. But if you don't necessarily believe that you're going to bring in them results, then work with them for free, as you said, for that first month, prove what you can do. And then next month, they'll buy into you.
Yeah.
So it's having that confidence that someone's going to buy into you. So then you break even on any course that you buy. It's like any investment that you make, university for God's sake.
Yeah.
50 grand debt I'm in. Logged in the other day, completely forgot.
So you're going to go through a 4-year process where you spend 9 grand a year to get maybe a job that produces 30, 40K a year.
Yeah.
Or you invest 1 to 5K on a program that teaches you how to build an actual business, teaches you practical skills that you can see a return on investment on like 5x in the first 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, and not only that, you're buying into someone that's done it. Whereas in uni, you're learning from someone that's never done it.
Yeah.
Like my lecturer has never been a lawyer. My lecturer had never been a barrister.
Yeah.
But you're trying to teach me to become that.
Well, I did a digital marketing degree. I got halfway through it. Yeah, I got halfway through it before COVID happened, and I lost my job and lost the degree that was attached to it. But everything I learned about digital marketing, like because I sold it as a service, and whenever I sell something, I've got to know everything about it.
Yeah.
So this is kind of where the kind of roots for the marketing agency happened.
Okay, interesting.
And everything I learned on that digital marketing degree course was overarching theory, nothing practical whatsoever, and I have used nothing in my marketing career that I learned in that. Everything I learned on Google and YouTube myself, I've actually used.
See, do you know what then? Now this fits in with the new era because I personally do not think you need to go to university if you want to get into digital marketing.
It's like anything.
At all.
Yeah, and it's like the closing stuff. It's like when I teach people how to land a role as a closer, and it's like, oh, I haven't got like sales experience, things like that. But I'm like, at the end of the day, what they can see is that you've invested in yourself to go through a very specific course that teaches you how to do the role that you're trying to get. So they can see that, and if you you peer into the other side again on these programs, people who run these programs, like if you were going to hire a salesperson for your program, you would not look through mountains of CVs, things like that. And if you apply for most of these roles, they have like a type form where you answer 5, 6, 7 questions.
Yeah.
Not full list of your job experience. Like, and it's weird, like the hiring process as such, because it is still kind of a role.
Yeah.
It's very different to traditional employment.
So different. Yeah, it is so different. I actually did something about this the other day. So Phoebe sent her CV to me. Now, she's the only person that I've ever hired at the agency from a CV. Yeah. However, it wasn't her CV that I bought into. It was the moment she walked through the door and we had a chat and I just bought into her instantly. Yeah. Now, she came on with me part-time for 6 months. I hired her full-time within like the first month because I was like, you are the one. Everyone else has been work experience. Yeah. She's the one. But everyone else has been work experience. And they've approached me for work experience because they've wanted a free trial. They've wanted to show me what they can do. And then they've still been with me today. So no, I haven't actually hired anyone based off of a CV. So whether you've been to uni or not, I've probably not even read it. Like I remember when Phoebe came in, she did graphic design at GCSE A-level? A-level. And I said something and she went, did you not read my CV? And I was like,
no.
Not really. I seen that you got a camera.
Yeah.
Apart from that, you were the best.
Yeah, but like when we look for closers, like when I've worked with other kind of coaches, courses, things like that, and we look for closers, when we hire a sales team as such, the first place we'll look is within the community.
Yeah.
Because we know for a fact the most important thing in new age sales is your level of understanding of potential customers.
New era sales.
I call it new age sales. Much better. We look for the level of understanding of the people you're actually going to be speaking to. And
definitely.
Who better understands a potential customer than a current one?
Yeah.
What was the thing that made you buy? You can have that in your head when you understand someone else. Whereas when you look at the more traditional salespeople, the reason that they don't get on in like these new era sales roles is because they don't have that level of understanding.
Yeah.
Like they just want to talk at people, and there's nothing worse.
This was what we were saying yesterday about introverts and extroverts.
Oh yeah. So like what makes a good salesperson? You can break down what makes who is suitable for a salesperson is probably more apt. And you always break down the population into 3 parts.
Yeah.
So you have a third of people who unfortunately will just never be good at sales.
Yeah.
They are just deep introverts. They suffer from chronic shyness and they just don't like speaking to people, which is completely fair. And it's understandable. And then you've got the opposite to that of super extroverted people. A third of people are naturally very good at sales because they are very good at talking to people. They're outgoing. They have that confidence. They don't mind having those conversations. But the reason that they're never the top performing salespeople is because they don't have the level of understanding, which is why a third of the population are introverts. Whilst they're not as good at sales straight away, they can be taught to be master salespeople in the new age because they will always be able to have a deeper level of understanding. They have more empathy. They have more power of connection. They can actually sit one-on-one with someone and have a conversation and understand that person on a more deeper level. And I was that person. So like when you look at, oh, you're all right, sales, you're that type of person. No, it wasn't. Like, you know me, I'm like deeply the opposite.
Yeah, so back in the day, so it was the extroverted people that would smash sales because their job was to be pushy, to sell as many of something as they can. Yeah. Whereas now introverts can actually perform a lot better. So do you think this is where the introverted extrovert comes out? So where people say that you're not an extrovert, but you're not an introvert, but you're kind of in the middle because...
Yeah, I call myself an extroverted introvert.
Extroverted. I'd say I'm an introverted extrovert.
Yeah. I mean, I think the way to measure where you sit is more on like, how do you recharge? Yeah. So do you recharge by going out, being social and speaking to other people, or like at the end of like a busy week? Yeah. Or do you recharge by like being by yourself? And I'm always by myself. Like when I'm, always prefer to kind of like have that. But it's like anything, like I said, the success is always finding balance in contradictions. And there's always pluses and minuses, pros and cons of everything. So there's always going to be pros and cons of being an extrovert, and there's always going to be the same with being an introvert. So you've got to find the balance. So there's finding the balance, which shows, though, that I speak to so many people that say, I'm an introvert. Are you choosing to be an introvert? Yeah. Like, okay, you're an introvert because that's where you're comfortable. And everyone knows that to grow, you need to push yourself out your comfort zone. So you're an introvert now, but can you become an introverted extrovert by choice, by pushing you out your comfort zone and actually learning a new skill or pushing yourself out of that to achieve something new? I would always say that I was an introvert back in the day. I need to stop that. But wait for you to meow now. No, but I can't believe you should maybe do that. Yeah. It's by choice or circumstance. I think you can say by choice, you can become an extrovert. It might not necessarily be a comfortable situation where you want to be an extrovert at all times, but within a certain scale or a certain concept, you are an extrovert, and then you go home and be a little introvert. Yeah, well, I truly believe by choice you can be anything. 100%, not by circumstance. Yeah. 100%. But like I said, introverts do have more of a power of connection. So it's definitely, if you are an extrovert, that's where you need to put more of your focus. It's slowing down, like stop interrupting people, like taking a breath, like asking more questions to actually understand someone's position. Definitely. Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now this one is, I'm going to say since COVID, remote work, sales and remote work. Now, how do you think sales has been affected since COVID with remote working? I think the normalization of video calls has been a massive plus for sales. Yeah. Giving people more power to work remotely, break into more of a personal connection with someone as well when you have a call. Because when you're on a high level business call and you're Zooming someone and they're a person, they've got animals in the back, they've got kids in the back, they've got a bit of mess. Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's like, it's awesome. It's like, this is an actual person. And the tone is set a little bit differently. They're more comfortable. Yeah, they are more comfortable. Yeah. And I've always found that there is always a difference between B2B and B2C. Like when you sell to businesses versus when you sell to consumers. Mm-hmm. And when you sell to businesses, there's always that element of, I'm going to put my business face on. And you can hide behind it. And I used to always do this. I used to always try to be more professional and like never really connect as a person. Yeah. But what happens is that you don't actually connect to that person. So then you put your front on. You put your mask on. Yeah, you put your mask on, you put your front on. So then when that goes wrong, you have that as an excuse. It was like, well, it wasn't me as a person. I don't have to damage my ego. It was down to like the business face. It was down to the business. Like it was a business decision. They didn't want to do it. Not because of me personally, but we all know that in sales, like people buy from people. Mm. So then you're caught in like this paradox of, well, if I become more vulnerable, then I'm going to get more hurt if it doesn't go my way. And then I'm going to be naturally forced to put my business face on even more. Yeah, definitely. Which means that I don't connect as much, which means that the sale doesn't go as well again, which means that I get more vulnerable and put more of a shield up, and you're in this
Yeah.
feedback loop. So you do have to.
I think you feel like you're selling more as well when you're in person.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're going out your way to sell something.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to buy into you within that hour that you're maybe having a coffee. When on a Zoom, you could sit there. I've been on Zooms where it's been like 2.5 hours in and we're talking about their dogs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're talking about something completely different. But we wouldn't be speaking about that if the external factor wouldn't have walked in. Or like say the kids have run in the back and then you're speaking to the kids. Like you're having a conversation with the whole family. Like you've met the nan, the granddad, and you actually know them.
Have you ever had a sales call where you get 55 minutes into an hour call and you have just talked about utter shit? It's great. And you're like talking about your hobbies, your life, your dreams, your goals.
Yeah.
And then you get to the end of the sales call and it's like, oh my God, sorry, we're out of time. And they literally say something like, all right, just give me the lowdown. How much is it? We'll do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. It's like $2,000 a month and we'll run your ads for you. It's like, yeah, fine. Give us the contract.
Yeah. Because they've bought into you.
And they've bought into you.
Yeah.
And this whole fallacy of this entire sales process, making these minute changes, you realize when you dig deep on a human level, it's nonsense. Like,
yeah, I agree. And I think when it comes to time as well, I like the idea of someone saying, do you want to jump on a Zoom? And it's like, oh yeah, we'll just jump on a Zoom because we've got an hour now. Whereas if you've got to go out to meet someone, you've got the time of obviously the commute.
Yeah.
They're trying to meet people that are all around the UK or global. We've got global clients. I can't just jump on jump on a plane to Australia to go and speak to certain clients. Like it allows more flexibility.
And do you know what? Putting on a front is exhausting.
Oh yeah, and you don't want to put on a front. Like I just think it naturally makes you put on a front and you don't want to. But I think this will lead on to being a man and a female in business as well with certain meetings.
Yeah.
I think we can discuss that because when you've done in-person sales, you were in Dubai, weren't you?
Well, I've done in-person sales for most of my sales career.
Okay. So with your
everywhere and
agency, in-person sales, did you do?
Yeah, because when I started my agency, I tried to do local business. I always recommend people go local because the hierarchy of communication is always face-to-face, video, calls, emails, which is so perplexing because everyone always wants to start at the bottom.
Yeah.
I'm going to build an agency by just emailing everyone. No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you do start, if you kind of have this massive USP of being local and being able to meet someone face-to-face, always do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, even that. But then as I naturally progressed, all my clients were in North America.
Yeah.
So I mean, I went out to see one in January, but other than that, it was always over that Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you ever found, when you say that you put your face on, if it was in person, have you ever found that you've had a negative experience from an in-person meeting because it's been in person where you've thought, well, if this was done over Zoom, this wouldn't have happened?
I don't think I have, to be honest. I think things that go wrong are more likely to happen on Zoom. It's why we have keyboard warriors. Because when someone feels, a sense of there's a barrier between us, they feel like they can get away with more.
They get away quicker as
well. The
well.
more the barrier, the more they feel they can get away with.
Yeah.
The more lack of consequence they feel. So if it's, I'm not actually speaking to this person, I'm delivering information through a medium like social media. Like there's a big barrier. Like me, my message, platform, they see message, then person, versus shit, this person's right in front of me. It's like when you listen to any podcast with, like Jordan Peterson was saying that he's had probably under 10 negative experiences in person with people, but yet his social media is flooded with people that want to insult him and misunderstand everything he says because the guy's a really genuine person and wants to help people, but people perceive him as this like far right. He's been compared to Nazis and things, and it's just ridiculous. But he says that I've literally had under 10 incidents
in person
that are negative.
I think it with me, so I completely agree with the negativity that you get on social media, especially when it comes to comments. Now with Zoom, I understand people can get away. But I remember going to a meeting last summer. It was roasting. It was like 30 degrees. I drove 2 hours to this meeting. I don't know if you remember this.
I've probably been told this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I walked in and I sat down and the man said to his, I think it was his PA, I had a blazer on. I had a suit, but it was like shorts and a blazer. And he was completely disrespected because I had shorts on and my legs were out. Then he said to me that if I was to come in the initial minute, was if I was to walk in again wearing shorts, that I wouldn't be welcome back. And I remember thinking, what on earth has just happened? But that was to my face. I remember getting up and just walking out. And it was the most dramatic. It should have been a film, should have filmed it. But that wouldn't have happened to a man.
I've never really seen any more problems being brought out by having a face-to-face meeting. But you have?
Yeah, because I think I'm not that person that sits here and says that men and women are treated different in business, because I think that now more women are finding their voices, more women are in business, and I think we are getting taken more serious. And
I think that's just such a polarizing way to look at it, though. Like, everyone is treated differently for various reasons.
everyone, yeah. And I think because we're women, a lot of us will come out and say that we are treated completely different.
Yeah.
We're not. You are right. Any man that looks different, if you dress a certain way, you're always going to be judged by something.
Yeah.
But I do think whilst females are becoming more accepted in business, we are still taken less seriously, because people naturally assume that, okay, you're going to work with a female. They do naturally assume that we've got other not expectations, we've got other commitments. So we can be mums, we can have kids at home, we just have other priorities other than business. So when it comes to a woman in business, it's like, okay, well, how long is she going to last? How long is she going to be here for? Because the moment she needs to settle down, is she still going to be able to run her business at the same time?
And there's a biological side to that of a woman has to have children by a certain age.
Yes.
So, there's a lot which I completely agree with. But, the thing I've always admired about you the most is that you don't let any of this become an excuse to not succeed.
Yeah.
And every single person will have some form of adversity to come up against.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes when you have an adversity, you see that as your war, and it's the most and you forget that other people have issues. Like mine's been mental health, army, things like that.
Yeah.
Like various, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Others is race. Others is like gender or like things like that. But I know for certain I'm not the person to solve this problem.
Yeah.
Like I sometimes feel I can't even approach this subject because all anyone sees is, white man. Like.
I think that no matter what, you can come out and say something. I think so many women shout about feminism and stuff like that, and it becomes this huge thing that you then panic about saying anything. Yeah. You panic about saying anything in the worry that someone's going to say, I can't believe she said that. But if I'd have let certain things get in my way, going on a meeting with a client, he said I had sexy legs. What? I said, I got them from my dad. Because I'm such an awkward person, but that could have really thrown some people. But instead, I shoved it off and thought, you know what, you're going to get it. Yeah. You are going to get things like that in business where people will see you for something else because you're a female. Mm-hmm. They'll see you as a powerful female that's good looking, and they'll go, I'm going to test this, and they'll push it.
And you've had people cross that line several times.
You do get it. And you can either knock you or you just...
You kind of accept it and then just push on with that relationship, because at the end of the day, you are a woman who looks a certain way, who is successful. Yeah. You're going to attract at least one or two men you meet.
You're going to get judged.
Yeah, you're going to get judged. Yeah. You're going to get people that kind of cross that line. But it's like, where is that line? Because we live in a kind of an age where I'm terrified to step into the gym in case I accidentally glance at a woman and I'm caught on film doing it, and I'm like public enemy number one. Yeah. Versus I was single for a very long time. Like, I didn't really want to approach women. People are like, well, just meet people in the gym. I was like, I'm going to approach someone in the gym. And they're like, well, I always want people to approach me in the gym. Like, I'll have a guy with confidence who just comes up to me and says it how it is. So you're like, well, what do you guys want? Do you want me to be this like super confident guy who comes up to you all the time? Or do you want me to like never look at you?
I think it fits in the other way though, because as a female, we do certain things that if a man was to do it, we'd be like, oh my God. That's so wrong. Like, so wrong. I think it's just the acceptance of it. But I think I want women to know now that you can't let things like that get in the way. Yeah. Like, you can't make it. You can make excuses, but what is an excuse going to get you? Yeah. You can stay in the same position. You can let certain things knock you, but you're always going to get it. And if you're not getting it in one aspect of life, you'll get it in a different aspect of life. Yeah. Like, would you rather it happen in business where you then set them expectations that things don't happen again, and you're here because you're a powerful fucking woman, or accept that you're going to get it when you go to the club on a Saturday night and someone's going to walk past you and try and, I don't know, do something that's inappropriate. Not that is inappropriate as well. But I'm trying to say that you're going to get it in all aspects of life. So it's choosing the aspects where we should never have to choose, ever.
No.
But until them days have come where I don't know, because men and women are different. Women do things that would not be acceptable by men, but we do it in different ways. I'm going to say, I'm making excuses now.
Again, like as I said, I think people are different as well. Like someone like you would just kind of take it as like, not take it on the chin. I don't know if that's the right expression, but you know, you just kind of take it for what it is and be like, right, well, at the end of the day, like I will just do what I need to achieve my goals. Like I'm not going to let this bother me or like slow me down.
Yeah.
And that's why you've been successful. But then what I also understand is, I mean, I think that's where we spoke before. Sometimes we struggle because we're not that sort of person. We'll just kind of get on with it. And
you get on with it, yeah.
A lot of people aren't, and it's much harder for them to accept that. But at the end of the day, you don't want anyone to feel like overly uncomfortable, scared. And like this thing, like men don't consider like that I need this stuff to be pointed out to me because I won't ever see it from your perspective. Like simple things like, I can't like speaking to my tattoo artist and she was like, yeah, well, I can't go for running at that time because I used to say I used to run at like stupid o'clock, like 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes. She was like, well, I can't do that. I was like, why? She was like, well, it's not safe for me. And I was like, oh shit, like you don't even like consider it. And I want to be able to be in an environment where I can kind of say stupid stuff like that and I'm not like dragged through the mud for saying it. Like I want to learn, and the only way I can learn is by someone telling me these things. By
speaking to a woman.
Yeah,
by speaking to a woman. I think it's a very touchy subject, and I think it's something that people need to speak about more because it's only ever spoken about in a negative manner. It's only ever spoken about by what men do, what women do, but I don't think there's ever like, it's very rare that there's that equal ground of, okay, well, do we just accept it? Do we just continue with it? Do we let it knock us? Do we continue? Like, there's always going to be something, and I think this is where the awkwardness comes in. You say, okay, I'll accept it, and I won't let it knock me, but then people will come back and say, what do you mean you'll accept it? That's so bad. And it's like, well, what are you meant to say? Like, there's no right or wrong answer. So you just, but that was men, right? Okay, back on. Okay, so we've spoken a lot about the new era in sales. Before we come to the final question, I just want you to run over briefly your experience, kind of how you got to where you are today. So the army, Dubai. Just kind of a bit of a brief.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what, like whole career in 10 seconds?
Not in 10 seconds. Give yourself a minute. But in terms of how you got into sales and what you think made you the salesperson that you are today.
So yeah, I mean, it's not, like I said, my lens is always kind of through the sales side, but yeah, like I've done entrepreneurial things and like being where I am today, the only reason I'm here is because I've consistently tried. Yeah. I've had failed businesses. I have been broke, as in like bankrupt. Oh no, I didn't declare bankruptcy, but like had no money, like severely in debt. Like let's say that. Like when I had that commission only job, like it was this whole thing of you do it for long enough, you build a team, they'll pay for you to launch your own business, you'll be on $100,000 a year. And I was that confident that I was going to do it. And this was my first ever sales job. I went out and got an $8,000 loan to go buy a $2,000 watch and loads of suits and go out on the piss.
Do you know so many people will have done that though? Did you do that so that within that sales role, you bought that $2,000 watch because it made you look better within your position?
Yeah, and like I just had that like swagger.
Selling the lifestyle.
Yeah, and I was just like that confident it was going to work. But, you know, everyone has, like that job, no one lasted. Like 90% of people didn't last 2 weeks. Yeah. And I did it for 6 months. Like, bear in mind, 6 days, 14-hour days, talking to 500 people a day. Yeah. And they will say, don't go on holiday, because the moment you go on holiday, like you can't come back when the holiday. But I found like a girlfriend. I didn't find her. Like I made one. I don't know what.
You made a girlfriend? What did you make her out of?
I don't even know how to phrase that. I had a girlfriend at the time. A new one? Yeah.
More, that makes sense.
That one. See what I mean when I'm not very good at women stuff. So had a new girlfriend, like working all that time, wanting to spend time with her was impossible, and I kind of fell out of it. But I never lost sight of that. I will be successful. One thing this guy who ran this company said to me in my interview was 1% of people make it 6 figures a year. Like that's not even a true figure, by the way, but it's near. But that thing's always stuck into me because coming from a military background where you could be the hardest working person in the room or you could be the least hard working person in the room, you will always get paid the same amount. Yeah. So you can be at the top, you can be at the bottom, you'll always get the same result. Mm-hmm. And that never made sense to me. Yeah. So why should I put all of this work in when I'm getting the same as everyone else?
Yeah, I agree with that. But when you said about like the statistics, so 1%,
Yeah.
this is something that I push on, is that statistics change.
Yeah.
So it might be that, I said the other day about, it might be that 1% of people within your area have got out of the area and become a millionaire. That doesn't mean that you can't be within that 1%, or it doesn't mean that them statistics can't become 10%. Like, statistics change. So I think statistics aren't something that you can allow affect you and knock you back from doing a certain thing, because you can be that percentage.
Yeah. And I'd never seen an opportunity where that was doable. I'd fully been stuck in the typical mindset of like work all your life to maybe get a 50 grand a year job. Like, because that's what I was raised on. And this is why I've had so much tension in my family and me, because I've always seen life very, very differently to them. I've always pushed against the narrative that they've taught me. And like, to the point of when I signed my first agency client, and it was an 18 grand website for my first ever deal. I sold 18 grand. The first thing my parents said to me is, oh, that'll look good on your CV if you have to go back. And
I remember you telling me this.
I was so pissed off. But, I held a lot of resentment for that for a very long time. But you kind of then realize as you kind of grow that your parents are just people. They're not parents. They are people. Like, and they have been raised a certain way. Like, as you have, like, they've gone through all this kind of shit, and they're just people at the end of the day, and they see life a certain way. So you can't hold it negatively against that.
Yeah, I don't think you can hold resentment to that, because my mum and dad are exactly the same in a sense. So they'll go, it's a safety net, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they would always say to me, well, maybe not now, but when I left uni, they said, well, as long as you've got your degree to fall back on.
Yeah.
And it's like a natural, because that's what they've grown up with.
Yeah.
So we can't necessarily look at them and say, oh, I wish they could support me in this aspect. Don't get me wrong, now they completely get it. Well, kind of. But they've grown up a certain way, and unless they've been in business, they're always going to naturally go to the CV aspect of things and the fallback of things, because that is the safety net, and having that monthly income is a safety net. Whereas an 18 grand deal, it just doesn't necessarily feel realistic to them. I think when I set up Spice Couture when I was 14, right, I was drop shipping these products, and I remember my dad saying to me, is this illegal? And I was like, I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah. And he was like, right, I've put money aside in a bank in case something goes wrong and you need to refund people. Luckily, it didn't happen. But that's that natural, what the hell is she doing? Because they just don't necessarily get it. But then it's not up to them to get it either.
No. And when you care about someone, like, you'll do what you believe is best for them.
Yeah.
Like, because if they took the opposite approach and just like didn't care, then they wouldn't be doing their job as parents.
Yes.
So that's something I also understood. It's like, from their perspective, they're doing the best that they can to try and put you in the best place. And for them, what you're doing is dangerous. What you're doing is very risky, and it won't work because they've never seen it for themselves.
Yeah, whilst it might be the best thing for you because you'll go to bigger places, you'll make more money, it's still an uncomfortable situation, and they would kind of rather you have that 1,500, £2,000 a month wage because it's supporting you. It's safe, it's guaranteed. But we know it's not always guaranteed.
Yeah.
There's no difference between you working for someone else and working for yourself.
No, I think COVID brought that out.
Yeah.
And opened a lot of people's eyes to the reality of life, is that, like, even though you feel like they're secure, it's not. You can be dropped the next day.
Yeah.
Like, you can be replaced very, very easily. There's nothing stopping them doing that. Yeah. And then you're in a much worse position than if you push through that hard time and figure out how to sustain your own life. Like, you and me both know that it would be impossible for us to go back working in a normal job.
I've never worked a job.
Oh, okay. I have a lot. Like, I've literally had 20 jobs. Like,
see, this is what I'd love. I'd love to be able to sit here and say, oh, no, I wouldn't love to say it, but I was working a 9 to 5, I was hating my life. I haven't got a sob story like that. It's like, I just risked it.
I think that's why I've been able to connect with people on the sales side so much in this kind of industry, is because I have been there. The reason that I'm a fucking good coach is because I was the worst student. And every single excuse I've got under the sun, every way of avoiding work, and everything that they've done, I've done 10 times over, but much better. Yeah. So when they tell me this stuff, like, I can peel back that reality.
Like, stop
and just
bullshitting me. I've been there.
Like, phrase, you can't bullshit a bullshitter.
Yeah.
Like, if you're the original, like, bullshitter, then you don't fall into that. If I honestly believe the excuses that I got after coaching 500 people, I would think I was cursed.
Yeah.
Because the amount of people who get sick or family members get this and things like that just happens to fall on those 30 days they spend coaching with me, then I would honestly believe that I was cursed. I know for a fact 90% of that is bullshit. It's just excuses.
Yeah. Do you know, this doesn't really fit, but it's kind of like something I want to put in with this, is that I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I can't even remember who it was with, but it was someone saying he was a public speaker. And when he spoke on stage, someone said to him, like, what is your secret? Like, how do you do it?
Yeah.
And he was like, right, I'm going to tell you the secret, but don't tell anyone. He's like, I've done this 120,000 million times. And he was like, if I'm not good at it now, then I'm never going to be good at it. Yeah. And it's like that, being consistent at something. The more you do it, the better you'll get. So when it comes to sales, the first sales call you ever do is going to be absolutely shite.
Yeah.
But down the line, you're going to get better at it.
But when you kind of grow up, you're always put into these uncomfortable situations of learning how to do things and being bad at stuff and like school and sports, things like that. And then when you grow up, no one makes you do it.
Yeah.
So then you've not got anything kind of forcing you, which is why the biggest thing about coaching that I think helps people is someone to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Like it's someone to actually push you to do the shit you should be doing.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest value in coaching.
Yeah, I think having a coach, having someone that you can hold yourself accountable for. Yeah. And I think another thing is that I was speaking to someone the other day that was like, oh, you can get everything on YouTube. Yeah, you can, but there's no one to hold you accountable for it. Yeah. And it's also not in order. It's stuff all over the place and you're trying to figure it out as you go.
And person A says one thing, person B says the other.
Yeah, and you're just going to make so many mistakes as opposed to following one system. It's like when we say people that change their systems constantly, they never figure out what works. Sticking with one person, testing that. If it doesn't work, then change. Don't look at 8 different people that are doing different things going, oh,
that's why I
had like spaghetti.
Tried cold calling, it doesn't work. All right, how long have you done it? Oh, I've done it for like a week now.
A week.
I've called like 15 people. I was like, okay.
How many have you spoke to? None.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to switch roles? I mean, maybe you should coach me. Yeah.
Because you're doing such a good job.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, I'm actually really love today, but we've spoken a lot about what you've done, sales in the new era. I can't even say the name of the podcast, guys. No. Sales in the new era. If you could go back to the beginning, what advice would you give yourself?
It's a tough one. My initial reaction whenever I get asked this question, would you do anything differently? What would you tell yourself?
Yeah.
I would honestly say absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Because I'm only where I am today through the experiences that I've had, good or bad. So going back and trying to change things in the past, run the danger of just not being me. And I think that if I was to give myself advice to get some of the things that I wanted when I was younger, like jobs or businesses or work, then I wouldn't be here. And it's like you get stuck. And like the reason that I've been able to push for something better is because it's always been bad.
Yeah.
So, it's like we spoke about that. The region beta paradox is that paradoxically.
This is a good one. Yeah, this is a good one.
I'm going to try and omit this. But paradoxically, if you were to have a journey of, 1 mile, you would walk.
Yes.
But if it was 1.5 miles, you would drive. So the paradox being that the longer journey takes less time for you to get to.
Yeah.
But, the pain of walking that far means that you're going to search for something better, like taking a car. And this relates into pretty much everything. Like everyone's day-to-day is like a job. So the only reason that you stay in a job is because it's not that bad enough for you to want to leave. It's not what you want, but it's not so bad. Like your boss is kind of okay. The pay is kind of okay. You always say that you're going to leave and you're going to get into this new position, but the pain of change outweighs the pain of staying the same. So you never actually go to that next job. And it's only when years of it grind on you that you do something you knew you should have done ages ago. And it's the same with relationships. Like, God, we spoke about this, is that a lot of people in relationships and, they're in this bad relationship because, you let small things bother you because in the back of your head, you're like, oh, I'm not sure.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, I'm not really sure I want to be here, but it's not that bad. Like they don't like abuse me like mentally or physically, they're not like drug addicts or things like that. You don't have that one final thing that says, all right, I'm gonna break it. And that's why you stay in these mundane relationships for so long that you shouldn't be in. Like I have so many friends who cheat on their missus and constantly bitch and moan about relationships all the time. And it's like the only reason you're there is because it's just that kind of not so bad that it forces you to leave.
But then over time, it's worse.
Yeah, over time, you're in a much worse position. So being in that kind of secondary, being in that beta position is worse for you than being in a truly bad position, because when you're in a truly bad position, it motivates you to make that change.
Yeah.
It's like being in an apartment that has a little bit of mold on it that you kind of like, I need to move, but you kind of deal with it.
Yeah,
versus I'm in an absolute terrible place where I have criminals like trying to rob me. you're going to move pretty
You're going to
quickly.
move quicker and put yourself in a better situation.
Yeah, and guarantee the thing you move into isn't going to be that apartment with bit of mold on it. It's going to be something that's truly worth moving for.
Yeah. Joe, it's such a big thing. That I remember the first time you said that to me, and I was like, that's such a big thing. Like, because you can stay in so many situations. It's like, okay, in sales, working with a client that isn't that bad.
Yeah.
They don't bother you that much, but when they do, it's like, oh, for God's sake.
And coaching is always the same.
Yeah.
Like the people who do better are always the ones in truly terrible jobs, like in bad positions. Like when I do qualification and, I'm looking at like people filling applications and they say they're in a decent job, just looking to make a bit of money on the side. I know for a fact that these people aren't going to go through the pain of investing in like $1,000 to $5,000 a pound course. Yeah. Because the short-term sacrifice and pain of putting that money does not outweigh their current position.
So they're not hungry enough to actually.
And then you get people that are in a really bad job, in a really bad circumstance, who get loans or credit cards. They will find that money to make that change. Yeah. And they've got so much riding on it because they're in such a painful position that they nearly always succeed. And those are the people that I kind of love, that take that honest opinion of themselves. Like, right, I'm going to give this an all. But when you always feel like you've got something to fall back on, it's just that pain. Like everything just boils down to that pain.
I think that's a really good point to finish on.
Yeah.
I do. I think that's a really good point to finish on because it'll give people things to think about.
Yeah. What advice would you give yourself?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm interviewing you for God's sake.
Let me switch around.
No, I wouldn't.
Same.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
No advice. Well, yes and no. I think if I look back, I'd have said take more risks, but I don't think I could have taken any more risks. Jesus.
Yeah.
I'd be underground. I think it's just advice for me and anyone that's my age or within the age brackets of, say, 16 to 25, I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. If you don't need to go to uni, don't go. If you want to get into a job role which doesn't require a degree, as in law, becoming a doctor, becoming a dentist, don't go. Save yourself the funds, figure it out in other ways. But besides that, I'd say be true to you and just fucking go for it and don't let any external factor, whether it's your parents, your friends, just go for it. And always remember that if you're going to make one small investment into yourself, if you can go and spend £1,000 on a holiday, you can spend £1,000 on a course.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
100%.
But anyway.
Thank
you for joining me today.
No problem.
And we will do this again in a
Till
year's time, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me.